recommend that some of your listeners look up history, and Rand Paul is correct. We fought a revolution over that kind of stuff. It's the human nature for people to overreach. I just heard you guys replayed the church, during the Church Commission, saying back in 1975, the NSA had a new electronic technology, and we have to be careful. What he was afraid of was that the government was going to turn it on us. And for people who don't know, they need to look up COINTELPRO with J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover collecting information on people that he should not have been collecting information on. Things that he did with Martin Luther King and a lot of other people. If you listen to Nixon's speeches, not his speech, but his recordings, it's on YouTube. You can hear these guys, you can see how these guys overreach. People need to realize what these people in government are doing. They're not for us. They're only for themselves. If they were for us, what the government would really be doing is going after these people who collapsed the entire world economy, and then nobody went to jail. Okay, I go to jail for stealing $140, but these guys stole trillions of dollars, but nobody went to jail. I suggest that the people that are listening to your station, or maybe you guys need to play a little more history, because the king could do whatever he wants. We don't have kings anymore. We don't have kings. We're supposed to elect our representatives. People, please stop saying if you have nothing to hide, then you wouldn't worry. Wait till it happens to you. Okay? The legal system is about lawyers railroading us, politicians playing us for fools. And from what I can see, most of us are fools. I have a lot more to say.
That's Matthew from Georgia, and that's Matthew talking about Senator Rand Paul and other topics, specifically for the next couple of minutes. Rand Paul, and if actions from the past week, including Sunday on the NSA, will help him or hurt him as he looks to 2016. We'll take a couple more before we're done, but want to show you a little bit from Lindsey Graham yesterday, a senator from South Carolina, announcing his intention to join the field of people interested in being the Republican presidential candidate. Rand Paul, coming up in the topic of this story at the Washington Times this morning, saying that he will likely serve as a foil to Senator Paul, who has warned against military adventurism overseas and recently said that, quote, hawks in the Republican Party were responsible for helping strengthen the Islamic State terrorists by pushing policies that led to regional instability and arming Syrian rebels. He made that speech yesterday in South Carolina. Here's a little bit talking about his foreign policy perspective as he runs to be president.
In fact, one senator said recently, and I find this really hard to believe, he said, well, when they ask you for a judge, just drone them. Ha ha. Same guy said, well, when they ask you for a lawyer, you just tell them to shut up.
For our line for Libertarians, Dan, hello. What do you think about Senator Paul, and what do you think about his 2016 ambitions, especially in light of the efforts on the NSA and the Patriot Act?
I think he's truly an American icon, and he's thinking not of himself, but of the American people, because he kind of threw himself in the fire by coming out and taking a stand against his own party, the War Hawk Party. I think that the media will beat him down, and in most people's eyes, the media will portray him as losing in the polls, as they already are now. But I think that America is pretty fed up with all the spying, all the agencies, and their, the EPA now is coming out saying they control every bit of water in the United States. I mean, at what point are we going to stop the tyrants from telling us this is how it's going to be? I think Matthew from Georgia summed up quite well with the church hearings and the COINTELPRO. I mean, there's numerous. You can just go back throughout history and look at all the incidents of abuse to the American citizens by our government. And a lot of the other callers had it right, too. When you're collecting this much data, how can you possibly find the actual terrorists that are making calls and sending texts when they're trying to wade through all that information? I think it's overkill. The Fourth Amendment clearly states no general warrantless searches, and that's what we're dealing with, black and white, plain and simple. You can't kill the truth. And I applaud Rand Paul for taking the stand. It might hurt him eventually, but I think a lot of people are in his corner in this country.
Robbie is up next. Independent line, Red Oak, Iowa. Hello.
Hello there. I agree with the guy that just was on the air, people need to go back and read about the church committee in the 70s. You know, the NSA was started in the 50s, and they were doing everything back then up to the president. Why didn't they stop 9/11? And Ron Paul is not a warmonger. That's one of the reasons I would vote for him. We didn't have any trouble. We didn't have any ISIS. All we had was the Saudi Arabians that attacked the United States, and we went over to Iraq and stirred up the Middle East, and we are responsible. The military-industrial complex is responsible for every innocent death that has happened since then. Thank God for Rand Paul.
Muriel, New Haven, Connecticut. Good morning. Go ahead.
Hey, Pedro, how are you? I thoroughly agree with the previous caller, and I have been a staunch supporter of the president. However, Rand Paul is a man that has the courage of his convictions, and I can tell you, I was astonished the other night listening to Senator Burr on the floor of the Senate talking about secret meetings, secret this, secret that, like it didn't make any difference to those of us who were watching on the television. We are not a country of secrets. We are a country that helps one another, and as far as secrets are concerned, they are a thing of the past if we ever had them. Our young people have, hello?
You're on. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, Petra. I never know if I'm on or not on. You know, we sent our young people to war, and we sent them to a war in Iraq, and it was based on lies. And you can take those lies and skip all the way back to 9/11, and God knows what really happened there. So I can tell you, I'm thinking over very carefully who I'm going to be voting for in this next election, if I'm still around. But if I'm still around, I can tell you I will give enormous thought to Rand Paul, and because I think he's a man of courage, a man of ideas, and a man that is standing up for people that have been saying what he said on the Senate floor for years, and nobody listens.
Muriel, you identify as a Democrat, and you're still looking at Senator Paul.
Absolutely, I am. Absolutely. It's time that the Senate and the House do their job. They're not doing their job, and if they're not doing their job, there's no reason for me to even give any one of them a first thought about re-electing them for any office.
That's Muriel in North Haven, Connecticut, calling in this morning talking about Senator Rand Paul on the NSA and if it will help or hurt him in campaign 2016.